introduce Dipinder sir. Dipinder sir, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, friends, Dipinder sir is the expert here in the FEMA, in discussion about FEMA. Dipinder sir is a fellow chartered accountant, and he's having rich experience in the area of foreign exchange, FEMA litigations, and FEMA compliances. He's also a certificate holder of ADIT ADIT course of IBFD. He is also holding certificate in certificate of international taxation course conducted by the ICAI. He is having experience of more than 19 years in the field of transfer pricing, domestic taxation, corporate laws, and he also possesses rich experience in the field of FEMA, international tax, transfer pricing, and domestic taxation. He is an expert consultant in the matters which require FIPB approvals, which is under automatic route, as well as RBI approval for branch offices. He has remained a speaker on seminar on foreign direct investments, overseas investment, ECB, transfer pricing, and international tax in India, organized by various study circles of the ICAI and the NIRC of ICAI. With this, I welcome Dipinder sir to start your presentation. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Akshat. Thank you, Manupalji, and thank you for inviting me. Should I start my deliberation and discussion over here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, good evening to everybody. And the today's topic which we are discussing is, although for me it's very old, but today we are discussing the new subject, new guidelines of the Reserve Bank of India over overseas direct investment, ODI. And my dear friends, Reserve Bank of India and central government, the central government in 2015 have made an amendment in the FEMA Act, in which the central government will decide the rules and regulations regarding the equity capital. The capital matter will lies with the central government, and the other debt matter will lies with the Reserve Bank of India. And operations and administration of ODI guidelines will be handled by the Reserve Bank of India. So, my dear friends, those who people are doing FEMA practice or not doing FEMA practices, they want to learn the subject. First, I would like to start with basics. The basics is the making an investment outside India is a capital account transaction, and capital account transactions are allowed when specifically written, and the method and the procedure. So if somebody wants to make any investment outside India, he should not, or the company should not venture out without reading the law. If somebody wants to travel abroad, what do? You buy a ticket, you go to visa office, take a currency, foreign exchange, multi-currency card, and fly to that country and come back. You never bothered. You do not talk to any FEMA expert because it is a current account transaction. You know this point. When you export, when you do import, you don't talk to any FEMA person because it's a current account transactions. But when you are talking about setting up a company abroad, when you are making investment abroad, when you are issuing corporate guarantee abroad, when you are giving loan abroad, these are the capital account transactions. These capital account transactions required careful handling, and Foreign Exchange Management Act has been divided into two types of transaction. One is current account transaction, another is a capital account transactions. My dear friends, you must have heard so much about the current account convertibility. India has a 100% current account convertibility. Only few are restrictions, very few restrictions. Why? Because we are a signatory to the World Bank. and where India as a person has committed that we will not impose restriction. We will impose only very reasonable restrictions on the current account transaction. That is why in India, export and import are freely. You can do it. Only just you have to go through the DGFT guidelines. If DGFT allowed to import certain product, you can import it. There is no need to take RBI approval. But current account convertibility, we have a partial current capital account convertibility. Sorry, current account convertibility is 100%, and capital account convertibility is the partial, like ODI, FDI, ECB, acquisition of property in India, acquisition of property outside India. These all are the capital account transactions. In these sectors, you must have to go through the circulars of FEMA. It is very important, because until unless Reserve Bank permit the same and the manner and procedure have been stated by the Reserve Bank, you have to follow the same. If you do not follow these circulars, then capital account transaction contravention will take place, and you have to regularize it, and you have to go for compounding also. So I hope with this background, I would like to start my deliberation today. I have set the tone for today. I am going to take up the capital account transactions. My dear friends, from the very old time, the Indian companies were eager to work abroad. And I go back to 300 years old or 400 years old. The East India Company, we are ODI for East India Company, and East India Company has come to India and conquer India and sold India to the Britishers. Now, we got freedom from Britishers on 15th August 1947. But what happened today? Every world wants you come as a foreigner and do business in their country. We also want FDI from Britain. Britain also want FDI from India. So in today's scenario, we are inviting the people, and the foreign countries are inviting to the Indian people to invest into their country, to do business in their country. And everybody wants a facilitation. Indian government, Reserve Bank of India also wants to facilitate cross-border investments and cross-border transactions. Reserve Bank of India felt that if we do cross-border transactions, then it would be a good opportunity for Indian exporters to market their product abroad, to import technology into India. I give you one small example. Let's say in India, you have a handloom product manufacturing unit over here. You are manufacturing handloom products and you are exporting your product to the Europe. But you realize that only few clients travel from Europe to India, right? If you set up your company in Belgium, Amsterdam, Berlin, and posted one person who is traveling Monday to Friday, every city of the Europe, showing product of the company, will increase the demand of your product into the Europe. The person who has set up the company or set up the branch office in the Europe will have a edge or additional advantage. So basically you are sitting at the door of your customer. So Reserve Bank of India wants to promote, like Infosys and Wipro and TCS. They got a numerous contract of service from Britain, from USA, from Canada. They set up their thousands of companies abroad and doing the job in their countries. Apart from my today's discussion, two things always comes into the mind of Indian entrepreneur. Should I set up my company abroad or should I set up my branch office abroad? My dear friends, this is a very common question, nothing to do with the today's topic. But branch office, when you set up a branch office abroad, it means any liability, legal liability, comes to the branch office will pass on to the head office. But if any legal liability comes to the subsidiary company, will not pass on to the holding company, until unless it is explicitly decided by holding company by way of passing a board resolution to adopt the same. So setting up of subsidiary is a risk mitigation device, and it is a good corporate decision also. Only with the limited words I say over branch versus subsidiary matter. Now, Reserve Bank of India on 7th July 2004 has issued foreign investment in foreign countries, transfer of issue of foreign security regulations 2004, 7th July 2004. After that, lot of changes have been taken place in this regulation. Lot of changes. Now, Reserve Bank of India and Government of India after 2015 amendment felt there is a need to revamp the ODI guidelines. Hence, they revamped the ODI guidelines and Reserve Bank of India has issued the regulations. My dear friends, as per FEMA, central government has a right to issue the rules and Reserve Bank of India has a right to issue the regulations and directions. If you see, the rules have been published by the Ministry of Finance, regulations and directions have been published by the Reserve Bank of India. Which are the rules have been published by the central government? Central government has published the rules of compounding rules, because the compounding rules are in the domain of the central government. But all the administration work of FEMA done by the Reserve Bank of India, whether rules published by central government, then also Reserve Bank is the administrative authority, right? Current account transaction rules, import and export comes under the rules. Then also it is central government, but administrative body is Reserve Bank of India. So wherever is a academic question, whenever you see the rules, it is published by the central government. Whenever you see the regulations and directions, it is published by the Reserve Bank of India. I hope it's a very simple, but is a academic discussions. It makes a lot of difference. Why? If Reserve Bank of India wants to change anything, then Reserve Bank of India will issue simply the APDIR circular and immediately change the regulation. Government of India will issue the gazette and then it will change the rules. So Reserve Bank of India is very proactive. It has a very large amount of human resource who is looking after the foreign exchange transactions. And in my view, I have not visited the Ministry of Finance, but Ministry of Finance, the FEMA division in Ministry of Finance must be a very small division. Is not so many people work over there, but because of the Reserve Bank, it has a expert domain of the Reserve Bank. That is why regulations sees more changes than the rules. So with these words, on 22nd of August 2022, by the evening, central government and the Reserve Bank of India, central government has issued the rules. The Reserve Bank of India has issued the regulations and the master directions. These are the three documents have been issued. More than that, I would like to dwell upon that master direction on reporting. The Reserve Bank of India has issued master direction on reporting. In reporting master direction, they have compiled all the compliances which needs to be done by an Indian entity or a foreign entity with regard to FEMA. These master directions have been updated accordingly, but updation has been taken place next day. No problem. So whenever somebody wants to do practice in ODI or overseas investment matters, he not only read rules, regulations, directions, he also go through the master directions on reporting. Because in reporting, page number 86 to 114, they have given all the new forms. The Reserve Bank of India has changed the forms of ODI forms. Earlier, there was a ODI part 1, part 2, part 3, section A, B, C, D, E. Now they have changed. now the form number is FC, financial commitment. So whenever you do any practice or filing a form, then you should go through master directions on Reserve Bank of India, page number 86 to page number 114. They have given all the forms over there. And along with this, they have given the instructions also how to fill the form. So whenever you make any ODI or remittances abroad, you have to file form FC. Please go through the instructions along with the same. Now, the consequent impact of this publishing these regulation on the liberalized remittance scheme. If you go through the master direction on liberalized remittance scheme, you will find there is a amendment. So total 5 changes takes place. I am repeating again myself for the benefit of every listener. Once rules have been published by the central government, regulations and directions have been published by Reserve Bank of India. Master directions on reporting has been changed accordingly. Consequent changes have taken place, and master direction on liberalized remittance scheme have been consequently affected. I hope things have been understood clearly up to this stage. One point I would like to highlight over here, Reserve Bank of India wants that the laws which have been published by Reserve Bank of India must be known by the people in a very simple language. That is why Reserve Bank of India has a habit to issue frequently asked questions, which they publish on their websites in a very lucid and easy manner. But because the directions have been just arrived, Reserve Bank of India has not published the FAQs or have not changed the FAQs yet. But it will take time, and subsequently Reserve Bank will issue the FAQs also, right? So once you do practice, if FAQs published by Reserve Bank, please go through it also. So you can note down that FAQs will also be changed in future, and you have to go through it also. So I hope by up to this stage there is no problem or no issue over here. Should I start?
Absolutely clear, yes, clear. You are absolutely clear, Deependraji. Carry on.
Carry on. So with these words and with this background, I would like to, I tried my level best to make the presentation, right, to PPT, but I failed myself because is a too much literature, too many things have arrived. You know, you have to jump from rules to regulations, regulations to directions, then you move to the reporting aspect. So I seek apology for every listener that I could not present in a PPT form, but I would like to compensate my PPT with my knowledge, with my explanation skills, reading by clause of the rules, regulations and directions. And in the morning, Akshat has asked me to describe the things with a case study. So I will try my level best to present before you every aspect with a case study. Am I right, Akshat?
Right, sir. Absolutely right, sir.
So I will not make my conversation and discussion dull, so that everybody should feel, you know, that he could not able to learn anything, right? So I am going to open rules. Is it my fine? Should I open rules?
Right, sir.
And go through it. Okay. Okay. Would you able to see the rules? No.
Not yet, sir.
Not yet. Okay.
Yes, sir. Now we can see.
Okay. So these are the rules. Okay. these are the rules published by the central government on 22nd August 2022. So the first few pages are in our Hindi language. So I am skipping these pages. Okay. Is it clear to everything, Akshat? No
Yes,
problem.
sir. We can see it, sir.
Okay, no problem. So I am coming on the Ministry of Finance, where everybody can download from the Google. These rules are available, you know. So these rules have been published by the Ministry of Finance, right?
Right.
Department of Economic Affairs on 22nd August 2022. I have already told you that Reserve Bank of central government has taken the right in amendment in FEMA in 2015. And you see, Akshat, that earlier the Reserve Bank of India used to issue the FDI guidelines, right?
Right.
Now, this time they have issued the non-debt instrument rules on 17th October 2019, right?
Right.
So why non-debt instrument rules have been published by the central government? Because these are the rules and these also the rules. So ODI rules and the FDI rules both are in the central government domain. Clear to everybody? Only Reserve Bank of India is an administrative body, right? So these are the things. The central government has taken the power from the Reserve Bank of India in 2015, but central government has taken time to publish the rules. Okay. So now we are reading these rules together. These rules may be called the Foreign Exchange Management Overseas Investment Rules. So the rule over here, these will be called Foreign Exchange Management Overseas Investment. In short, you will find references OI rules.
Right,
OI
right.
rule. Okay. Now coming to the definition, Act is a FEMA Act, clear. Authorized dealer, I am skipping, everybody know authorized dealer. The most important is C, control. Control means the right to appoint majority of directors or to control management or policy decisions exercisable by a person or persons acting individually or in concert, directly or indirectly, including by virtue of their shareholding or management rights or shareholders agreement or voting agreements that entitle them to 10% or more of the voting rights or in any other manner in the entity. Akshat, the meaning of this definition is, if somebody may have a equity of 1%, right?
Right.
But from 1%, it has a right. It's a side agreement that I would appoint the majority of directors, right? But in this definition, you will find that even if you do not have this power to appoint majority of directors, but if you are having 10% voting rights, right, then you are still be called a control. Am I right?
Right.
Everybody can read it again. That right to appoint directors, everybody know. Control management, everybody know. Policy decisions, everybody know. Individually concerned, okay, fair enough. By virtue of their shareholding, management rights, shareholders agreement or voting that entitle them to 10% or more voting rights. Agreed?
So to substantial interest, it will be mean as 10%. It's kind of substantial interest only.
I would not subscribe your terminology. I would subscribe it as a control.
Control. Okay.
Because, you know, Akshat, you well aware these are the legal matters.
Right.
How they pronounce something, we have to see the word through their definitions. I cannot import anything which is not written here.
Right.
So control means either I have an agreement, right, to appoint majority of directors. If I don't have an agreement like this, then I should have at least 10% of shares.
Voting rights.
Voting rights. Why I am reading again and again control? The purpose is there. When you go through all the rules, regulation and directions, you will figure out that only when you have a control, then also you can give loan and corporate guarantees.
ठीक है.
Earlier, even if you have invested 1%, then also you can give the loan or guarantee. So to bring some sincerity, they have said, if a company outside India, you have 10%, then you can give a loan. If you have 9%, then you cannot give a loan.
Loan.
Until unless you have a right to appoint majority of directors. So disinvestment is a simple meaning, extinguishment of rights and everything. Equity capital, everybody knows, no surprise. Financial commitment. The financial commitment is the same which earlier was there, right? What is the financial commitment? Financial commitment means an Indian entity, right, has committed himself, like capital, loan, guarantees. Financial commitment means aggregate amount of investment made by person resident in India by way of ODI, right? ODI means only capital, that other than overseas portfolio investment in a foreign entity or entities in which overseas direct investment is made, and shall include the non-fund based facilities extended by such person or behalf of sorry. Sorry. So it means that financial commitment means equity, debt, and fund-based or non-fund-based facilities. Clear?
Right, sir.
Only overseas portfolio investment has been excluded. Now, financial service regulator, foreign entity is the most important thing. Akshit, earlier we used to hear that there is a concept of JV and WS, right? Now, JV and WS concept have been erased. There are three things in the professional life: learn, earn, unlearn, and relearn.
Right.
So we have to unlearn. We know what is JV and WS. Now JV, WS concept have been erased. They have introduced the word foreign entity. Okay, foreign entity means an entity formed and registered or incorporated outside India, including International Financial Service Center that has a limited liability. So, provided that restriction of limited liability shall not apply to an entity with core activity is a strategic sector.
Right.
Akshit, what happened? Our Prime Minister wants to make a push for those sectors which are very important for India. If you see India as an economics point of view, the energy sector is our thrust. We want to conquer the energy sector, right?
Right.
In that scenario, if you travel the world, you will find a lot of energy sector are working in a very opaque structure, right? So that is why they are saying, if your strategic sector, then you can invest into not in a company or entity which does not have a limited liability. You understood the limited? Like you can invest abroad in a limited liability. What is the limited liability? A private limited has a limited liability.
Right.
A public limited has a limited liability.
Right.
LLP has a limited liability. LLC has a limited liability. Right? LP, these have a limited liability. So if you want to invest in a non-strategic sector, then the entity or the structure must have a limited liability. If you want to invest into a sector, core sector, which is a strategic sector, we will read what is strategic sector. Then we will allow you to invest into a strategic sector, even if the structure is does not have the limited liability. Clear?
Right.
You understood the difference? What is from where I am coming? Let's say there is a oil well. Okay. an oil well is in the partnership form outside India, right? So partnership does not have a limited liability. Am I right?
It does not have, right, sir.
But oil is in India's strategic sector list. So Indian entity will be allowed to invest abroad into that oil well partnership, despite of the fact that the entity in which we are investing does not have a limited liability concept. Clear?
Correct, sir. So we need to look into sector in which we are investing as well as the legal structure of that entity. Both needs to be looked into.
Yeah. Okay. Strategic sector may have a limited liability, is fine, no problem. But if strategic sector does not have a limited liability structure, then also you are allowed. So basically, we are freeing you. The government of India wants to free you to go abroad and acquire the strategic assets outside India. You understood the point?
Correct, sir.
So if you have a 400 crore, 500 crore, you go abroad and acquire the oil well.
Correct, sir.
Now, coming to the host country or host jurisdiction means country, or these are the simple, Indian entity means a company, body corporate, limited liability, partnership firm. Earlier was the same, no difference. Earlier we used to call this Indian entity Indian party. Now Indian party word has been replaced with Indian entity. And foreign entity word has replaced the JV and WOS. Clear? So last audited balance sheet is the same, but the last audited balance sheet cannot be older than 18 months. Okay? Listed is, listed Indian foreign company, Indian mutual funds, net worth. Now net worth has been taken of section 257 of Companies Act. Akshat, if you go through the 257, it says, can you open, are you in office?
Yes,
Can
I'm in office, sir.
For me, 257.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a minute, I'm opening. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
$257, sir. I'm reading, sir.
Yeah.
Net worth means the aggregate value of the paid up share capital and all reserves created out of the profits after deducting the aggregate value of the accumulated losses, deferred expenditure and miscellaneous expenditure not written off as per the audited balance sheet, but does not include reserves created out of revaluation of assets, write back of depreciation and amalgamation.
So you have figured out the security premium over there?
Yes, sir. So reserves include security premium and debit or credit balance of profit and loss account.
Okay. So in this definition, net worth includes security premium. But in the older definition, it was figure out that security premium was not part of the net worth.
Correct.
So this is a beneficial provision, that in this provision, net worth includes security premium also. Akshat, it is clear that net worth, security premium should be part of the net worth.
Right, sir, right.
Sometimes we find ourselves in a very awkward situation when in the jungle of words, we lost the real meaning. So net worth, now this mistake has been corrected. Now net worth include the security premium. Okay.
Right.
Now comes to the Q, overseas direct investment. ODI means investment by way of unlisted, by way of acquisition of unlisted equity capital of a foreign entity. Unlisted equity capital of a foreign entity by way of acquisition. Akshat, do you see acquisition means 5%, 10%, 15%? Whether they have defined in this definition? No.
No, sir.
No. So acquisition may be 1%, 2%, 3%. Okay. Or subscription as a part of MOA. Or investment in 10% or more of the paid up capital of a listed foreign entity. Or investment with a control where investment is less than 10% of paid up capital of a listed foreign entity. Now you see the meaning of control. It means if somebody wants to invest into a listed foreign entity in the 5%, let's say only 5%, okay, would it be qualify ODI?
Yes, sir, it would be.
No, in listed at least you should have a 10%.
10%, okay. Okay.
Or if you want to acquire less than 10%, then you must have the appointment power to more than 50% of the directors.
Okay.
So it means if somebody in unlisted equity capital, you can have 1%, then this is a ODI. Okay. But if you are talking about listed, you must acquire at least 10%. Clear?
Right. Or voting power of the directors.
Yeah. For the purpose of this clause, where an investment by a person resident in India in the equity capital of foreign entity is classified as ODI, such investment shall continue to be treated as ODI even if investment fails. That is okay. Fair enough. The overseas investment is very important, Akshat. Overseas investment, OI, means financial commitment and overseas portfolio investment by person resident in India. And overseas portfolio investment means investment other than ODI in foreign securities, but not in any unlisted debt instruments or any security issued by person resident in India who is not in IFSC, provided that OPI by a person resident in India, even after that certificate. What we have read, what we have understood, control is clear, at least you have a 10%. ODI means only capital, only capital. In unlisted share, if you buy 1%, it is ODI. In listed share, at least 10%. Clear? Now, overseas investment means financial commitment. Financial commitment, what is the definition of financial commitment? Equity, debt, guarantees, everything.
Guarantee also.
So, overseas investment, OI, means financial commitment plus overseas portfolio investment. So, ODI is different. Control is a smaller thing. ODI is a bigger thing. Financial commitment is much bigger than ODI. Okay. Overseas portfolio investment is a separate. And all together will be called overseas investment.
So overseas investment, there are two limbs, ODI and OPI, sir.
Yes. For the purpose of this clause, the expression debt instrument means the instrument in Rule 5A, okay, relative, Companies Act relative. FEMA always takes their definition from the Companies Act. Remember my word. So relative, they always take definition of the Companies Act, relative. Resident individual means person resident in India who is a natural person. Why resident individual definition has been given? Because first time Reserve Bank has allowed gifting of foreign securities between one resident individual to another resident individual. So that is why resident individual definition they have given here. Now come to the important definition of Y. Subsidiary or step down subsidiary of a foreign entity means an entity in which foreign entity has control. Akshat, understand and focus what Y is saying. Y is saying, I'm an Indian company. My name is ABC India Private Limited. I'm incorporated in India. I have set up a USA company. Let's say Barack Obama INC. Barack Obama INC has set up another step down subsidiary.
Right.
Okay. and wholly 100% share owned by Barack Obama Inc. That step down subsidiary wholly has set up further company but owns only 9%.
In India?
Abroad.
It's abroad, okay.
So it means the company in which I have indirectly only 9%. It means I don't have the control. So this step down subsidiary, which earlier used to say, will not be required to be reported into India because I have an investment less than 10%. You understood my point?
Right, right, sir.
Because they use the word control. So any foreign entity in which I have made investment, if foreign entity have made downstream investment and the foreign entity have investment less than 10%, will not be qualified as a subsidiary or step down subsidiary. If any entity is not a subsidiary or step down subsidiary of foreign entity, it means it does not require to be reported. Okay. What are the strategic sector? Strategic sector shall include energy, natural resources, oil, gas, coal, minerals, ores, submarine cable systems, startups, and other sector or subsector as deemed necessary by the central government. Is it clear, Akshat, over here?
So iska to list is prescribed by the central government.
But oil and gas is there. This definition I have already discussed with you when I was discussing something else.
Right, sir.
We are reading here. But why I have discussed? Because if I do not discuss at that point of time, you could not make the connect. So we have to connect the dots. Okay. Now coming to the sweat equity shares. Sweat equity shares, what is mean? You know, sweat equity share means such equity shares as are issued by an overseas entity to its directors or employees at a discount or for consideration other than cash for providing know-how, making available intellectual property rights, value addition by whatever name called. So to whom? Directors or employees. Okay. Not to you and not to me. Okay. If somebody is saying to Akshat, you provide consultancy to American company, and American company will say, oh, Akshat, you are a very nice person. Take my shares. Would it qualify as a sweat equity shares?
No, sir. No.
Because you are not a director of that company and you are not an employee of that company. Or even if you are not a director or employee to its subsidiary also. Okay.
Right.
So trust, venture capital fund, you see, administration of these rules. These rules shall be administered by Reserve Bank. What happened? Central government wants all powers. So all powers they have taken. But when they have taken all powers, they realize that we could not administrate the things. You know, it's just like that. Akshat has an elephant, right? And Akshat is feeding the elephant from the last 50 years. Okay. And one day, fine morning, I say, Akshat, you give me that elephant. Okay. I snatch elephant from Akshat. But I realized within a couple of days that I cannot, take care of the elephant. So I prepare a rules and give it to Akshat back elephant. Boss, you take care. So what it is written over here? These rules shall be administered by the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank may issue such directions, circulars, instructions, clarification as it may deem necessary for effective implementation of the provisions of these rules. Can Akshat, you tell me why power has been delegated? Once in the parliament, you are taking away all the powers. But by way of rule, you are giving back these powers to Reserve Bank. Because the Reserve Bank has more robust system for response, for administration, for human resource, for system, for infrastructure. Central government does not have an infrastructure or resource to admin the ODI matters. Do you agree with my point?
Right, sir, right.
Because if you send any file to ministry, any ministry, would you get approval in 2 months or 1 month? No.
sir. No.
But Reserve Bank do time-bound manner. Okay. Now, non-applicability of the rules and regulations relating thereto in certain cases. These are the cases where overseas investment rules will not be applicable. Any investment made by financial institution in an IFSC, any investment made outside India by any financial institution in an IFSC. What is IFSC? Everybody know. So so if from IFSC any financial institution is invested abroad, then we will not apply these rules because we carve out IFSC as a separate jurisdiction in India. Acquisition or transfer of any investment outside India made out of resident foreign currency account. Everybody knows resident foreign currency account who can open? Only those persons who have been returned from abroad after certain period of residence. So these people are called returning NRIs. Returning NRIs bring their money from abroad. And in resident foreign currency account, only the money which they have, which they have earned at the time of NRI, this money can be repatriated into India and kept in a resident foreign currency account. Routine income of a person cannot be credited into resident foreign currency account. Hence, if any returning NRIs making investment abroad from its sources which he has earned outside India, that is why overseas investment regulations are not applicable on this case. Is it clear to everybody? Because returning NRIs, if tomorrow wants to go back to their country, okay, 4 years, 3 years, why we forcing him to take UIN? Am I right?
Correct.
Because he is not purchasing any foreign currency from your sources. He has bring his own sources from abroad. Okay. I have done successfully 4 or 5 things over here. Okay. So out of the foreign currency resources held outside India, who is employed in India for a specific duration, irrespective of length, or for a specific job or assignment, duration of which does not exceed 3 years. Any employee, let's say Italian, has been sent by Italian company into India, and he is working in a subsidiary in India. The job period is defined, let's say 7 years. Then he will fall over here, a specific duration. Okay. If somebody has been sent to India for a job, right, for a specific job, but the duration should not exceed 3 years. If you see the 2 limbs, in first, there is no time period. In second, there is a time period. In first, he is employed. In the second, he is not employed. He is in India to finish one job or assignment. Is it clear? Akshat, is this clear?
Right, sir, right. Understand, sir.
Let's say, I give you one example over here. Let's say Tom Cruise, right? Tom Cruise is in India and he is in India for shooting. Okay. He's shooting, acting in a movie, and shooting is going on in Rishikesh, right? And the period is longer. So let's say it's 6 months. Now he has set up a company abroad. So do you like to force him to take UIN from India?
No,
Akshay?
sir. No, sir.
Why? Because he has a specific job.
Just a job, right?
And duration is not exceeding 3 years.
Yes.
Right?
It is not permanency, sir.
A permanent resident, and he is utilizing the money which are the resources available to him outside India.
Right.
He is not taking from your kitty.
Hmm.
Am I right? Am I wrong?
Correct, sir. Correct. Absolutely right, sir.
That is why he has been carved out.
Okay.
Clear?
Right, clear, sir.
So this understanding will help you so many times when any Indian MNCs has a CFO, CEOs, those who are visiting India and they have been deputed into India for a shorter period. And they wants to set up a company abroad, we can advise them, sir, there is no need to file Form ODI if you qualify under this regulation.
Okay.
Akshay, this definition will help you so many returning technocrat also.
Right.
So many technocrat return from California, right? So they are in India for a particular job, right? And in the meantime, they figure out some idea, but they don't want to do that idea into India. They set up a company in California and after 2 years, they return back to California. So these kind of people do not require anything with the overseas investment guidelines or rules.
Right.
Yeah. So these are very important. Even if you do some person approach you to do this, so first figure out who he is, right?
Correct.
And what has a future plans for him. If he is coming from abroad, going abroad, so why you are want to do this? Okay. Now I am moving to Roman 3 in accordance with subsection 4 of section 6. What it is? Section 6, subsection 4.
Yes, sir.
It is
Capital account transaction, sir.
Returning NRIs. Okay. Okay.
Right, sir.
So returning NRIs, RBI has issued a circular. Returning NRIs are free from all encumbrances which they want to do with their money, which is abroad. If they have any money abroad, if they want to set up the company abroad from the resources available to them abroad, they can do it. There is no need to bring unnecessary these people into the ODI clutches. Agreed?
Right.
So the Roman 1st and Roman 3rd, both are for the same people. Roman 1st for the money which they have bought into India, right? And Roman 3rd out of the money which they have kept outside India. You understood this or no?
Right, sir. Get it, sir. It includes also, any inheritance which they have got outside India.
Yes. Let's say your grandfather, Akshat, lived in America. And in the inheritance, some shares have been passed on to you. So there is no need to take ODI. UIN number for them.
Correct.
Gogi, you have received these shares under section 6, subsection 4.
Right.
No, these are the debt instruments and not debt instrument. Akshat, can somebody tell me why this 5 is necessary to read me? Can somebody tell me why we are reading this? Why we are reading 5? Anybody would like to help me out?
Any suggestion in the chat box? Anyone can answer.
I will give some prize to him.
So no answer yet.
Debt instruments, as when I started my lecture, debt matters have been left to Reserve Bank of India and equity matters have been taken over by the central government. You understood? Hello?
Right, sir. Right.
Right. So debt instrument means following shall be debt instruments and non-debt instrument as determined by central government. Debt instrument, government bonds, corporate bonds, all tranches of this borrowings by firms through loans and depository received. Those underlying securities are debt securities. Non-debt instruments, all investments in equity, capital, all instruments like in FDI, which they have said investment, investment, junior most, acquisition, contribution, deposits. Okay. Continuity of certain amendments, which certain investments. If you have invested in past, there is no need to revisit the same. You can continue. Okay. For bonus share, Akshat, the biggest change over here, that bonus share, earlier when you receive the bonus share, you have to report the acquisition of bonus share in a form ODI, right?
Right, sir.
Because there is a change in the equity capital. Now, bonus share will not be treated as financial commitment. Okay. And there is no need to be reported to the RBI.
Correct.
Is a new change. Any person resident in India who has acquired and continues to hold equity capital of a foreign entity in accordance with the provision reset or rules or regulation made thereunder may invest in equity capital issued by such entity as a right issue or may be granted bonus share. A person resident acquiring the right issuance of rule may renounce such rights in favor of a person resident in India. So this is a great flexibility. If you don't want to subscribe the right issue, you can renounce it all. Okay. Prohibition on investment outside India. Save as otherwise provided in the Act or rules, regulations, no person resident in India shall make or transfer any investment or financial commitment outside India. Akshat, if you read para 8, right? If you read the other regulations of FEMA, you will find this language on the regulation number 3.
Right.
In regulation number 3, first regulation talks about the name of the regulation. Regulation 2 talks about the definitions. Or regulation 3 always talks about no, you can't do anything. Okay, except we tell you. These are the standard way of writing the regulations. But in these rules, you will find these rules, right, in para 8. You remember my talk when I say in capital account transaction, it is only allowed when it is written, it is allowed.
Right.
So that has been verified from this language. Save as otherwise provided in the Act or these rules or the regulation made or direction issued under the Act, no person resident in India shall make or transfer any investment or financial commitment outside India. It means until and unless we said you, right? We said you can't do anything.
Right.
Unless we said you. So these language you will not find in a current account transaction rules. You read it. You will not find it. Do you have a FEMA book?
Sir, yes, sir, I have, sir. Sir, I'll read section 5.
No, I'll read 3 points. Give me a minute. I'll
Okay,
read.
sir.
So everybody should understand the difference between current account transaction and a capital account
So
transaction.
capital account transaction is which alters the assets or liabilities of a person resident outside India.
Yeah.
The person
So now I am reading the rule 3. Rule 3 there says drawal of foreign exchange by any person for the following person is prohibited. Name schedule 1, 2, 3. Otherwise, then it is allowed.
Correct, sir.
So because the current account transaction is by and large allowed, restrictions are few. Capital account transaction, everything is prohibited until unless it is specifically allowed.
Right.
Now coming to the overseas investment. Akshat, you remember, overseas investment definition is the widest definition. It includes ODI, it includes financial commitment, it includes overseas portfolio investment. Save as otherwise provided in these rules of foreign exchange management, overseas investment regulation 2020, any investment made outside India by a person resident in India shall be made in foreign entity engaged in a bona fide business activity. What is bona fide?
Its true nature, sir.
Bona fide activity
Nature,
are those activities which are not illegal, either in the domestic law of India and either the domestic law of the foreign country or in the international trade. Agreed?
Correct.
Agreed or disagree?
Agree, sir, agree. Bona fide means it's genuine transaction, sir.
Genuine. Akshat, there is a one drugs called marijuana. You know?
Right, sir.
So in some states in USA, it is allowed.
Right.
Some part of the Mexico, it is allowed. But in India, there is a one act called, the head office is in Gwalior, which says any citizen of India, directly or indirectly, whether living in India or outside India, cannot do or trade in a drugs, which are the prohibited. You know this point?
Achha, sir. I didn't know. Yeah.
So this is the Drugs Prohibition Act. Some act is there.
Right, sir.
Means Akshat want to set up a company in US in those states where marijuana is allowed. Agreed? But Indian domestic law act prohibit you. You can't do that.
Right.
So it will not be called bona fide
By
business.
transaction. Right, sir.
Is it clear or no?
Clear, sir. Clear, sir.
Am I right?
Right, right, sir.
Let's say Afghanistan, American forces has abandoned the Afghanistan, right? And you will find there lot of arms and ammunitions have been left by the American forces, right? So you want to set up a company in any part of the world, like Cuba, okay, and do this dubious transaction. Buy the arms and ammunition from the Taliban at a very cheap discounted price and selling these arms and ammunition to the Ukraine army because they need it. Would it be allowed?
So no, it will not be a bona fide transaction, sir.
It would not be a bona fide transaction. Why I am insisting upon? Because the definition is not given. When something is not defined, then the canvas is very big and you have to apply your own common sense. Lot of people always eager to import the scrap from the war-torn zones because lot of tanks and everything have been destroyed. When Ukraine will be settled down, you will find, Akshat, lot of scrap collectors will be set up their companies in Ukraine, right? So they will buy the arms and ammunition which have been burned or useless. So in India, these kind of products are allowed to be imported subject to they are fit for. Let's say so many times we have seen that in the furnace, some bombardment has been done because some bomb has been left into the tank and tank has been destroyed and you import that tank as a scrap and you put this scrap into the, you know, where the all the steel are, you know, is in the oven, oil oven, or in the oven where all the steel and, you know, converting into the liquidity. When these kind of things come into the contact with the fire, immediately blast will taken place.
Right.
So when you are setting up a company abroad, you must be very, very careful. Your transaction would be bona fide business transaction. Earlier, the prohibited sector was real estate sector, real estate business. In real estate business, you cannot trade the property, right? Now they have been gone into further three activities: real estate activities, banking activities, and gambling activities. So Akshat want to set up a casino, okay, in America. Can you do so? Casino is allowed?
Right.
No, because Indian ODI regulations have prohibited you to invest into the gambling sector. Agreed?
Okay, right.
One thing is also important. Akshat?
Ji, sir.
if you want to do any setup, any company in Pakistan or any other jurisdiction,
Right.
it may be advised by central government. Then you require prior approval from central government.
Right, sir. Right.
It is the same type of a law which you have seen during the Corona times.
Right.
When India has published a circular where all the borders which are touching with our country, investment coming from the border state will require government approval.
Government approval, right.
So government has kept, let's say tomorrow we have a war with China. So would you like to allow, would you allow Mahindra and Mahindra to invest into China?
No, sir, no.
So where is the law?
The law is here, sir. Right.
Law is here. Because you, without a law, you cannot issue any circular or guideline.
So all the FATF countries are part of this, right, sir?
It is not written over here.
Acha. It's not written over there.
So they will be advised by the central government. I have a suspect because FATF has a two list. One is the gray list. One is the black list.
Right.
So in gray list, UAE is also there. UAE.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So India will never prohibit to make an investment in the UAE.
Correct, sir.
So only those countries which are banned from investment is Iran and North Korea.
North Korea. And sir, right now, due to this scenario, Russia and ongoing this war, even if can we make the investment in Russia? Can we advise our clients to make inbound and outbound investments in Russia?
You can do any investment into Russia. There is no ban.
Okay.
Only problem is there. You cannot use the SWIFT mechanism.
So because so one of the banking, the foreign banks are not allowing inward remittance in India from Russian entities.
Yeah, so that is why Reserve Bank of India has opened a mechanism where the Russian banks have opened a bank account into India in Indian currency.
Acha, okay.
So you have read the news in couple of days back that Russian diamond companies have permitted European diamond merchants to buy their diamonds in Indian currency.
Indian currency, okay.
So the Russia is a 1/3 total world supplier of diamond.
Okay.
So Russia is ready to supply the diamond to the Europe, but they are saying if you want to buy my diamonds, because SWIFT cannot come to the Russia.
Russia, okay.
Right? So you buy Indian currency and give it us Indian currency.
Okay.
So the Europeans are buying into Indian currency. Or maybe this is possible that in India, we import diamonds and pay the money into Indian currency, right?
Right.
And we export it to the Europe and we get the foreign currency.
Right.
So trade with Russia is going on in Indian currency. The Russian banks have opened a bank account with Indian banks, and they are receiving the payment in Indian currency.
Right.
And today, the balance of payment tilt in favor of Russia because we are importing more from Russia rather than exporting to Russia.
Right.
But Russia has a no option. They have to, dig out the oil and gases from there because they cannot stop the they cannot stop the crude oil companies and machines over there.
Right.
So let's see how the future will work out. But presently, presently India is buying oil, gases, diamonds, and everything in Indian rupees.
Correct.
And we are paying to the bank account of the Russian banks in India, local. So if we have paid them money in local, if we export anything to Russia, we also receive the money in the local currency from India. So this is how the trade with Russia is going on presently. Because you cannot make any SWIFT to Russia.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Now, if you see the explanation, for the purpose of this sub-rule, bona fide business activity shall mean any business activity permissible under any law in force in India and host country or host jurisdiction as the case may be. You see the word and? You see this word and?
Right.
It means any activity which is allowed outside India, but it is not allowed in India.
It's not a bona fide activity.
It is not a bona fide business activity. Would you like to give any more example which I have given to you, like marijuana?
Casino is an option. Sir, a betting companies.
Betting could be one example.
Yeah.
In India, we do not allow.
No, right.
And I think in India, we do not allow the GM corp of so many corp, GM, genetically modified seed business, we have not allowed in India. Am I right?
I think so. So right now, if you do plant-based meat is also there in world. I don't know if in India it is still available.
Yeah. And like electronic cigarettes, Akshay, electronic cigarette is banned in India.
Right,
but
right.
If you go to Britain, everybody use electronic cigarette over there.
Right, true.
Right. So you have to be very, very careful what you are doing in the world. Whether it is allowed, like say hacking. Maybe hacking is not allowed in India, but other part of the world it is. Let's say I talk about cryptocurrency. You tell me, okay, I want to do a cryptocurrency trading in India. Is it allowed?
So now the regulations are in place. They only say that, okay, you have to pay taxes, but it's still not streamlined per se. But more debatable issue.
Because in the one press conference, Finance Secretary of Finance Ministry says it is illegal.
Illegal, right?
And Reserve Bank of India is not in favor of cryptocurrency, right? Akshat, if you are collecting a tax, it does not wash the criminality of the transaction.
Right.
If somebody is a contract killer, so should we say your income is exempt?
No.
If contract killer is filing his return and say, I have killed 10% and this is my income, right? So would you say, no, it's a legal income, we don't tax you? So fiscal laws are different from the regulatory laws.
Right.
What we are reading is a regulatory laws.
Right.
So hence, it is very important that the business which we are going to do abroad must be legal business allowed in India and in the host country also.
Right.
Agreed?
Right, agreed.
You want to remember this thing with one more example? If
Sure,
you permit me, I would like to give one more example.
Sure.
When you do merchant trading, right? In merchant trading, the goods does not cross the custom barrier of India. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Right.
But you
Right,
are
sir.
allowed to do only merchant trading of those products which are as per the DGFT policy is allowed to import into India.
Right.
You understood my point?
Right.
You are
Right.
buying certain products from Japan and selling it to Italy. Whether the goods is coming to India?
No.
No. It's a merchant transaction.
It's a merchant trading. Right, sir.
But you are allowed to do this transaction only and only when the particular item is allowed to import into India, even if you are not importing that product into
Right.
India.
Right.
Am I right?
True, sir.
Let's say uranium. Can you import uranium?
No,
Akshat?
sir. No, sir.
No. Am I right?
Right.
So can you buy uranium from Tokyo and export to?
No, sir.
Pardon?
No, sir. No.
Okay. Can you set up a company in Dubai who can buy uranium from Tokyo and sell to Italy?
Sir, no, because it's not permissible in India.
Absolutely right. So it means you cannot do those activities so many times, Akshat. People think, oh, I cannot do this in India. Yes, right. You can't do that in India. Can I do from abroad? I set up my wholly owned subsidiary. I go abroad and do these transactions. That may give me a lot of profit. But can we do
No, sir, because of this explanation, sir.
this explanation? So we have to be very, very careful what we are going to do abroad.
Right, sir.
Okay, so casinos are not allowed. Betting businesses are not allowed. Even if your foreign entity, your step down subsidiary and step down cannot also do that business. Okay.
Right, sir.
So in my opinion, cryptocurrency business should not be done by Indian subsidiary abroad. That is my view, because cryptocurrency trading by and large, although because there is no clarity as such.
Right, so there is no clarity as such.
No clarity. And when there is no clarity, it is better to become a conservative rather than become aggressive. That is my philosophy. Now, moving to 2, notwithstanding anything contained in the rules or regulation overseas investment regulation, the central government may, on an application made to it through Reserve Bank, permit financial commitment in a strategic sectors or geographic above the limits laid down in these rules. So if you want to may on an application made to it through Reserve Bank, permit financial commitment in strategic sectors, those above the limits. If let's say your net worth is 400% is allowed, you have 100 crore, you are allowed to invest 400 crore, but you want to make 500 crore and it is in the strategic sector, right? Then you have to approach the central government through Reserve Bank.
Right.
The Reserve Bank may, on an application made to it through AD Bank, sufficient reason and this, okay, these are the approvals. No objection. Can we come to the 10? You can read it. This nothing is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the earlier
NOC. This is very important aspect. Earlier, if your company is defaulter list, if your company is under investigation, then you have to take RBI approval. It takes years. Correct, sir. It takes years to make ODI, right? Nowadays, the government has come out with a circular which says you submit application to the authority. Okay. If they do not give you anything within 60 days, right, then it is a deemed NOC. Okay. This is the main benefit of this. Now, manner of
very important change compared
yeah,
to
it is a very welcome move. You know, if you want to get anything from the Directorate of Enforcement, do you believe even they don't offer you the chair also? So how could they give you the NOC? They say there is no mechanism to issue the NOC in their record. So hence, it's a very welcome move. Because nowadays, every second company is under the DOE. People, the problem is their importer and exporters have not cleared their EDPMS and IDPMS status.
Right.
This is the issue.
Right, sir.
Okay.
Right,
Okay.
sir. You can move it.
Manner of making ODI by Indian entity. An Indian entity may make ODI in the manner and subject to terms and conditions prescribed in Schedule 1. Okay. So, Akshay, with the permission of all the listeners, I would like to move to Schedule 1 because Schedule 1 is very important. Okay. So, the point is ODI. Okay. I am moving in this over here. Right. Is the Schedule 1. Okay. Rule 11. This is the maximum investment outside India done under this circular. This point, manner of making ODI. ODI means equity. Remember? Clear?
Right, sir.
Equity includes equity shares, CCPS, and CCD. Am I right?
Right, sir.
You want to read again?
No, sir.
You want to read?
Understood, sir.
if you want to read, okay, ODI means investment by way of acquisition of unlisted equity capital of foreign entity subscription as part of memorandum, this. Paid up capital. Okay. So these capital includes over here. And if you go here, non-debt instruments rules, right? All the instruments of investment as recognized in the FDI. So all the debt instruments, non-debt instruments, which are compulsorily convertible equity is also equity. Okay.
Right.
Now coming to the schedule. An Indian entity may make ODI by way of investment in equity capital for the purpose of undertaking bona fide business activity in the manner and subject to the limits and conditions provided in this schedule. The ODI may be made or held by way of subscription. How we make any investment over there? We make investment subscription as part of memorandum, association, or purchase of equity capital, listed or unlisted. In listed, you have to buy how much? Akshit, 10%.
10%, sir. 10%.
10%. If Akshit tomorrow decide to buy the Akshit Private Limited in India, Akshit Private Limited is an unlisted company, right? Wants to invest into the Apple. Can he do? Can Akshit Private Limited Indian company can invest into the Apple?
Yes, sir. If more than 10%, right?
It is not a 10%. Can you buy 10% of Apple stake?
Right, sir. Correct.
And even if you buy 1%, whether Apple would be agree to give 50% of rights appointing of director to you?
Nice, sir. No.
So it means it is a portfolio investment. What is? It is not a ODI. It is a portfolio.
Yeah, right.
Am I right? Am I wrong?
Right, sir. Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Agree, sir.
Agree. Now, whether you can make a portfolio investment or not, overseas portfolio investment is different from ODI.
Right.
Okay. So now we go to the portfolio investment. Manner of making the overseas portfolio investment. Akshit Private Limited is a private limited company, right?
Right.
An Indian entity may make OPI which shall not exceed 50% of its net worth as on the last day of the last audited balance sheet.
Correct.
The manner and subject to the condition laid down in this schedule.
Correct.
It means Akshit Private Limited can make overseas portfolio investment into Apple, but not exceeding 50% of his net worth.
Net worth.
The listed Indian company may make OPI including by way of reinvestment. Is Akshit Private Limited is a listed company?
No, sir.
Akshit Private Limited is an unlisted company.
Right.
An unlisted Indian company may make OPI only under clauses 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th of subparagraph 2 of paragraph 1. Okay. Now coming to 2. This is 2, right? Paragraph 1, you see again this. An unlisted Indian entity may make OPI only under clauses 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th of subparagraph 2 of paragraph 1 of schedule 1. Okay. Schedule paragraph 1 is 2, 3rd.
Right.
Okay. Acquisition by way of equity capital by way of right issue. How would you get a right issue?
If I hold
shares, do not own the old shares.
Right.
They say capitalization, whether the Apple will capitalize you the shares.
Nice.
No. Swap of securities, whether they will do a swap of securities.
Right.
Merger, demerger, amalgamation, whether they would do. No.
So then we can't invest then?
Yes. So Akshit Private Limited cannot make overseas portfolio investment. You understood my point?
Right, sir.
In a listed company. Who can make portfolio investment? Listed Indian company. You understood or don't understood?
Right, sir. Totally understand, sir.
Anybody, floor is open. Ask so many questions what somebody.
So I think, sir, their voices are mute. I think all the attendees, no?
My voice.
Attendees' voice is mute. So I think
If anybody would like to ask any question, or you can allow somebody to ask or talk over there.
so there is one question that we can discuss at the end. It's not related to this topic. We'll discuss at the end, sir.
Okay. Akshat, any question comes to your mind? Are you satisfied with my
Yes,
interpretation?
sir. For this point, I'm clear, sir. I have certain points to I can discuss afterward. Which anytime it will come to this topic,
Yeah.
I'll
So
discuss.
is it clear that portfolio investment can be made only by a listed company?
Clear, sir. Clear.
Okay. Now ODI in a financial sector service activity. This is wonderful. If you read notification 120,
Right, sir.
regulation 7, where if somebody is working in a Indian financial sector, if making ODI in any sector, okay, then that company has to take approval from the respective authority. Let's say a NBFC in India, okay, wants to set up a software company in US. Then also Indian NBFC has to take approval from the DNBS, Department of Non-Banking Supervision. Okay, old laws. In new laws, an Indian entity engaged in a financial services activity in India may make ODI in a foreign entity which is directly or indirectly engaged in financial services activity. It means if Indian NBFC want to invest abroad in a non-financial sectors, right, it does not require any approval. Clear?
Clear, sir.
Dipenderji, there is a question. Akshat, can you read out the question in the Q&A?
Okay. Sir, what is the difference between clause 1 and clause 3 under OPI?
Sir, clause 1 is only giving general permission. But if you read clause 1, they say subject to written below. Read it again.
Yes, sir.
Read it again. I read it again.
Yes, sir.
An Indian entity may make OPI which shall not exceed 50% of his net worth as on the date of his last audited balance sheet in the manner and subject to the condition laid down in this schedule. Am I clear to you? So the written in 1 is limited by this. In first, they are allowing. In second and third, they are creating diversions. Listed, they are allowing. Unlisted, they are allowing in only these circumstances.
Right.
Is it clear?
Right, sir.
Any other question? No?
Dipenderji, before you forget, the Rupee Ruble trade also needs to be discussed with some emphasis. There are listeners who want to, have detailed view, understanding on the Rupee Ruble trade also, sir.
Sir, during the ODI discussion, I have already touched
Yes,
upon.
absolutely. But thoda sa elaborate कीजिएगा, sir, at the end.
अच्छा, ठीक है, मैं करता हूँ. कितना टाइम रखूं अभी तो 5
तो है, half an hour है, sir. You are the sole person. Don't worry.
देखो सर, मैंने कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं करी. मैंने बहुत आराम
से. Sir, you are wonderful and line by line, clause by clause understanding बहुत जरूरी है, sir.
हाँ, क्योंकि
ये फेमा है सर. ये कोई दूसरे ऐड की तरह नहीं है कि आप ऊपर नीचे पढ़ के निकल जाओगे.
सर, एक मिसिंग थिंग, एक भी चीज आप मिस कर गए ना,
बिल्कुल ठीक बात है.
किल एवरीथिंग. इट विल किल एवरीथिंग.
एब्सोल्युटली.
ठीक है सर. ये ओपीआई, आई थिंक अक्षत, ओपीआई is clear to you?
It's clear to me, sir. Completely clear.
Okay. Now, can I come back to this point 2.1?
Financial services, right, sir.
So financial services, 3 years. So if NBFC wants to invest abroad in an NBFC, right, then this 2.1 will be applicable.
Right.
In 2.1 says you have posted 3 years profit, registered with DNBS, and you have to obtain approval. Clear?
Right.
Akshit, clear?
Clear, sir, clear.
Now come to the para 2. An Indian entity not engaged in financial services in India may make ODI in foreign entity, whether directly or indirectly engage in financial service activity, except banking and insurance, subject to the condition that such Indian entity has posted net profit during the preceding 3 financial years. It means Akshit Private Limited is incorporated in the year 2015. Okay. So Akshit Private Limited has made his balance sheet 15-16, 16-17, 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 21-22,
Right.
22, right? So all these years you have made profit, but you are not in a financial sector, financial service sector. Am I right?
Right, sir.
But you want to set up a NBFC abroad. Whether 2-2 allowed you?
Yes, sir. It allows.
Yes. It is the great relief.
It's a very good relief, sir.
And it is a bona fide transaction. If you see what the bona fide meaning says, which is not allowed in India. NBFC business is allowed in India, subject to you have to take permission. Right. But it is allowed. It is not illegal. So it is a great relief. How it is great relief? Can you tell me?
So because we don't have to take any approval, sir. On just mere profit, if we are having, we can invest, sir. Right?
Okay. Akshit has a dream to invest into the Apple. But Akshit does not have a money in his own personal pocket. Akshit has all the money in its company. Right?
Right.
So Akshit Private Limited is richer. Akshit is poorer. And Akshit is the owner of company. And Akshit is well aware that if he take out the money from the company, he has to pay the tax on dividend. Am I right, Akshit?
Right, sir.
And you are a chartered accountant, you are a tax efficient guy, right? And you want to fulfill your dream. So you set up a company in New York, and that company invests into the New York Stock Exchange. Whether your dream is fulfilled or not.
Yes, it is fulfilled. Basically, indirectly, I'm an indirect beneficiary to the shares. I will be. Yeah.
And it is a portfolio investment made by your entity.
Right, sir.
Am I right?
Right.
Would it be qualified overseas portfolio investment?
So it won't be over.
If we do not confuse ourselves, we never get an answer.
Right.
Read overseas portfolio investment rules. Okay. Overseas portfolio investment means investment other than ODI in foreign securities, but not in unlisted debt securities or any securities issued by person who is not in an IFSC, provided a OPI by a person resident in India in equity share listed share. It means they are talking about direct holding.
Direct.
They are not talking about, in this definition, indirect holding.
Yes, so it will not be an OPI, sir.
Yes. Is it clear?
Correct, sir. Right.
I think this made your day if you understood this.
Right, sir. Totally get it, sir. Right.
So by this way, Akshit has achieved his dream, and without
any approval, without any OPI or approvals. Right?
Any approval and tax efficient way.
Tax efficient.
There is no need to, draw your money from the company.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now,
paragraph 3.
3 is all talk about that if due to COVID you don't have the profit, then you can do it, but it's just is a helping basically.
Right.
Okay. Maybe after 2-3 years this clause would be redundant for us. Okay.
Right.
Notwithstanding anything contained in this paragraph, overseas investment by banks and non-banking financial institutions shall be subject to be laid down by the they have taken the right. One thing also remember, Akshat, that they have to come out 2 months have been given to the banks to bring their circulars. Every bank will issue their own circulars on valuation.
Right.
So you have to wait for another, although they are doing, everybody is doing ODI right now. Okay. Nobody is holding up. But in next 2 months, you will get the circulars from each and every bank on valuations.
Correct.
Limit for financial commitment. See the word change. Earlier, we are talking about ODI. Okay. 2 is talking about ODI. 3 is talking about
Financial commitment.
So canvas is bigger because financial commitment include ODI.
ODI and OPI.
So financial commitment include loans. Financial commitment includes guarantees. The total financial commitment made by an Indian entity in all the foreign entities taken together at the time of undertaking, such commitment shall not exceed 400% of its net worth as on the date of the last audited balance sheet or as directed by Reserve Bank. So it is the same as the previous one.
Right.
Am I right?
Right, sir.
Okay. Any question?
So there's one question. What will happen if the Indian entity incurred losses after making the ODI?
And there is no need to revisit the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, sir.
Now coming to second, the total financial commitment referred to in subparagraph shall not include capitalization of retained earning for reckoning such limit, but shall include the total financial commitment referred. It means if foreign company has allotted you the bonus share. Akshit, are you listening me?
Yes, I am listening, sir.
You have invested $100,000 in an American company. An American company has a 500,000 reserve and surplus. And rather than distributing this $500,000 as a dividend to you, they capitalize it.
Right.
And giving you the bonus shares. So your financial commitment will not be 1 plus 5. It will be 1.
1.
Agreed?
Correct, sir. Right. Agreed.
Because the bonus share is not your commitment. Bonus you have got as a free of cost.
Of course.
So the bonus share will not be. Am I right? This my interpretation is correct or wrong?
Right, sir. Totally right, sir. Right.
These are the Maharatna, and these not for us is government. So I have completed part schedule 1, and the schedule 1 is the most important, or maximum 99% outflow in ODI is under schedule 1.
Schedule 1.
Here, schedule 2 we have already done.
Right.
And schedule 3 is one of the most important. Everybody is keenly waiting for this because resident individuals in India are also heavily investing abroad.
Right.
Am I right? So we will go through schedule 3.
3.
Okay, and schedule 3 is long, but schedule 4 I will skip because investment by registered trust and society, these are under the approval routes basically. These schedule 4 normally do not use by me. I never get a client in IFSC and like that and mutual funds. I maximum got a client in schedule 1 and schedule 3. And in your practical life, you will get only client over schedule 1 and schedule 3. But if you want to read schedule 4, it's your choice. I will not cover in my today's deliberation. It will not make any use for it. Am I allowed to skip the schedule 4?
Yes.
Because people will become bored over there. Okay. Now, making overseas investment by resident individual. OI means what? OI is the biggest word. OI include ODI. OI include financial commitment. OI includes overseas portfolio investment. Agreed?
Right.
Any resident individual may make ODI. Now they carve out ODI by way of investment in equity capital or OPI in the manner provided in this schedule. So OPI for individual is not in schedule 2. is OPI is under Schedule 3. You understood?
Right.
For resident individual, you need not to go to Schedule 2nd. You have to go to
Schedule
Schedule 3. So Schedule 3 for resident individual, whether they make OPI or ODI. Clear? Is it
Correct, sir.
clear?
Right.
Unless otherwise provided hereunder shall be subject to overall ceiling under the liberalized remittance scheme of a resident individual may make or hold overseas investment by way of may make or hold by way of ODI in operating for foreign entity not engaged in financial services activity and which does not have subsidiary or step down subsidiary where the resident individual has control in the foreign entity. If any resident individual, right, making investment abroad, ODI, in ODI, and that ODI means only equity capital, not that. Okay?
Right.
ODI will only be in an operating foreign entity. It means that entity cannot make any downstream investment. Clear? And that ODI will do bona fide business activity. It is first clause. Second, it also cannot deal in the financial service sector. Clear?
Yeah, clear, sir.
OPI.
Including by way of the investment.
A resident individual may hold overseas investment by way of OPI. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल डायरेक्ट स्टॉक एक्सचेंज में पैसे लगा सकता है
अंडर द लिमिट ऑफ एलआरएच
है
अंडर द लिमिट ऑफ एलआरएच
हाँ ओपीआई का मतलब लिस्टेड है अनलिस्टेड नहीं है
अनलिस्टेड नहीं है हाँ
अगर अनलिस्टेड है तो ओडीआई में आ रहा है या मैं ओपीआई खोल के दोबारा पढ़ूं उसमें अनलिस्टेड नहीं आएगा उसमें लिस्टेड है
उसको पढ़ा ठीक है
So you understood the meaning of definitions. Akshat, these rules are so difficult that even in economics times, they are publishing only paras. They must have written a whole page. They are reluctant. They are waiting for Reserve Bank to publish the FAQs.
FAQs, right, sir.
If you read anybody, they are publishing in a small paras, not in a complete picture.
Right.
You advise me, can I cover this topic in PPT if I do not read this? Now coming to third, ODI, OPI, as the case may be by way of capitalization, you can do capitalization, but you know capitalization is useless. Who will do? It means what they are trying to say that you raise a bill of consultancy to a foreign entity and foreign entity will issue you the shares.
Correct.
So this is not possible in OPI because no listed company will capitalize your services. Okay.
Right.
Only ODI can do. So if you have set up a company abroad and you build your own company and that company capitalizing your services or export, then you can do. But capitalization will be done only what you are giving. Your company, let's say Akshit Private Limited. If Akshit in personal capacity have set up a company in Washington, DC, and Akshit Private Limited export the material, the company want to capitalize it. But who will become owner? Private Limited company, not Akshit. So this, if Washington, DC company want to capitalize the receipt of the material, payable of material, then it will not fall under Schedule 3, it will fall under Schedule 1. Okay?
Right.
Because goods have been exported by a private limited company, not Akshit in individual capacity.
Right.
Swap of shares, okay. Acquisition, right issue, okay. Gift is allowed. First, earlier gift was not allowed. Inheritance is such like a thing is a human law. If somebody dies, that has to be inherited. Acquisition of sweat equity shares, okay. Acquisition of minimum qualification, okay. For acquisition of shares under this, okay. Provided that ODI in respect of E, you read E, F or G, NH. may be made in foreign entity whether or not such foreign entity is engaged in financial service activity or has subsidiary or step down subsidiary where the resident individual has control. Because E means what? Inheritance. Do you have any control on inheritance?
No, sir.
No.
No.
F, sweat equity share, how much you will get? Peanuts.
No, sir.
Minimum qualification share, how much? Is 1 or 2 shares to
Right.
become a director? On ESOPs, you get very small amount of shares. That is why if these companies are doing financial activity, we don't care. Okay. Provided that ODI in these respect. Provided further that the acquisition of less than 10% of equity capital, whether listed or unlisted, of a foreign entity without control under clause FGH will be treated OPI. Right? FGH, acquisition of sweat equity minimum and GIS will be treated where less than is OPI. It means there is no need to file form ODI. You got my point?
Okay, sir.
Agreed?
So there is one question. Whether non-resident Indian can invest in Section 8 not-for-profit Indian company?
Write a answer. You need MHA approval.
MHA approval.
Whether cap of 400% is applicable on non-financial sector entity. Yes, 400% cap is everywhere. All the questions asked by Mr. Sunil Kumar Gupta, raise a bill on it. Every question will be billed 10,000 rupees. How many questions he has asked? Count. And along with the GST also.
Okay.
Let's see how many questions he will ask again.
Right.
Make a note of it.
Right, sir.
No, we were okay. We will have for the purpose of this schedule, a foreign entity will be considered to be engaged in the business of financial services activity if the take activity which is carried out by India. Okay. Acquisition by way of gift or inheritance, it is welcome move. Okay. Employees, yeah, this you can. So this I have covered. Schedule, all the schedules. Okay.
Right.
Important schedules I have covered. Now coming back to this rules again. I have started from here. Okay.
11 to right.
1 we have covered, 2 we have covered, 3 we have covered, 4th I have left because it's no use of it. 5th I have left. Now coming to the pricing guideline. Okay. In the rules you have not figured out the pricing guidelines.
Right.
Unless otherwise provided in these rules, the issue or transfer of equity capital for a foreign entity from a person resident outside India to a person resident in India to a person resident in India who is eligible to make such investment, or from person resident in India to a person resident outside India shall be subject to a price arrived on an arm's length basis.
This is the same rule as it was earlier.
Yeah.
Same rule.
Earlier the arm's length terminology
used
in not that rules,
right.
not in the ODI rules.
Huh.
This word arm's length basis is used in FDI rules,
FDI.
not on ODI rules. They have imported this word from there. The AD bank, before facilitating transaction under sub-rule 1, shall ensure compliance with arm's length pricing, taking into consideration the valuation as per the internationally accepting pricing methodology for valuation. Akshat, this terminology they have imported from non-debt instrument rules.
Right.
So what they are saying, that the issue or transfer of equity capital of a foreign entity from बाहर वाला अगर इंडिया में बेच रहा है ना, और इंडिया वाला इंडिया वाले को बेच रहा है ना, और इंडिया वाला बाहर वाले को बेच रहा है, तो वो प्राइस का वैल्यूएशन होगा। सीधी सी बात ये है, वो पहले भी होता था।
पहले भी होता था वैल्यूएशन जी।
Transfer of liquidity, unless otherwise provided in these rules, A person resident in India holding any equity capital in accordance with these rules may transfer such investment in compliance with the limits and subject to the condition of such investment or disinvestment, pricing guidelines or documentation and reporting requirements in the manner provided in these rules and this तो ठीक है. A person resident in India may transfer equity capital by of sale to a person resident in India, local to local, Akshat Private Limited selling to Deepinder Private Limited.
Correct.
Who is eligible to make the to a person? आप बाहर वाले को बेच सकते हो, allowed है, कोई approval नहीं. Transfer on account of merger, amalgamation, or on account of buyback. Such transfer or liquid in case of liquidation of the foreign entity shall have the approval of competent authority outside India or the house. ठीक है. Where the disinvestment by person is in India pertains to India, the transfer full disinvestment other shall not have any dues outstanding for receipts. ठीक है. Which such transfer is entitled to receive from the as investor in equity capital in debt. Read this.
Right.
Where disinvestment by a person resident in India pertains to ODI, the transferor in case of full disinvestment other than by way of liquidation shall not have any dues outstanding for dues. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि आप बाहर की कंपनी के शेयर बेच रहे हो, इंडिया वाला बाहर की कंपनी के शेयर बेच रहा है, अदर देन लिक्विडेशन है बॉस. तो आप लिक्विडेशन नहीं कर रहे हो किसी को. अगर आप डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट कैसे करते हो, या तो कंपनी बंद कर दो या किसी को शेयर बेच दो, यही होगा ना. आपने शेयर बेच दिए. shall not have any dues outstanding for receipt which such transfer is entitled to receive from foreign entity as an investor in equity capital and debt.
Right.
तो ये क्या कहना चाहता है कि जितना आपका इक्विटी कैपिटल में पैसा लगा हुआ है और डेट में, और हो सकता है रिजर्व सरप्लस में भी कुछ बन रहा हो, तो वो आपको मिलना चाहिए. The transferor in case of an investment must have stayed invested at least 1 year from the date of making ODI. ये नहीं कि आज ODI करा और 6 महीने बाद आगे भैया मुझे ट्रांसफर करना है.
ठीक है.
क्योंकि फिर तो वो OPI हो जाएगा. रोज खरीदो रोज बेचो. ठीक है ना. ये कह रहा है provided that above condition shall not be applicable in case of merger, demerger, amalgamation between 2 or more foreign entities that are wholly owned directly indirectly by Indian entity, or there is no change in dilution of aggregate in merge. चलो merger का छोड़ देते हैं. The holding of any investment or transfer thereof in any manner shall not be permitted if the initial investment was not under the act. ठीक है. अब आपका रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग आप कर सकते हो. चलो वो रेस्ट्रिक्शन प्रोहिबिशन, अभी मैं रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग करनी है. रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग, चलो रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग को एक बार पार्क करते हैं. रेस्ट्रिक्शन एंड प्रोहिबिशन पर आते हैं. अनलेस अदरवाइज प्रोवाइडेड इन द एक्ट और दीज रूल्स, नो पर्सन रेजिडेंट इन इंडिया शैल मेक ओडीआई इन ए फॉरेन एंटिटी, एंगेज इन रियल एस्टेट एक्टिविटी, गैम्बलिंग इन एनी फॉर्म and dealing with financial product linked to the Indian rupee without specific approval. For the purpose of this rule, the expression real estate activity की definition same है जो पहले real estate business की थी. Means buying and selling of real estate or trading and transfer, but does not include development business. Is the same. Okay. Any ODI in startup recognized under the laws of the host country or host jurisdiction, as the case may be, shall be made by an Indian entity only from the internal accrual, whether from Indian entity or group or associate entities, in case of a resident individuals from own funds of such an individual. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ, अगर बाहर कोई स्टार्टअप है बाहर के लॉ में, आप यहां से लोन लेकर उसमें पैसा नहीं लगा सकते क्योंकि ये रिस्की वेंचर होते हैं. No person resident in India shall make financial commitment in a foreign entity that has invested or invests into India at the time of making such financial commitment or at any time thereafter, either directly or indirectly, resulting in a structure with more than 2 layers of subsidiaries. ये है राउंड ट्रिपिंग का. ठीक है. तो राउंड ट्रिपिंग में वो क्या कहना चाह रहा है, आप बाहर वाले में पैसा नहीं लगा सकते अगर उसके स्ट्रक्चर इंडिया में भी वो इन्वेस्ट करा हुआ है, more than 2 layers of subsidiaries. तो अगर जिसमें हमने पैसा लगाया वो फॉरेन एंटिटी हो गई, है ना, उसने यहाँ किसी में पैसा लगाया तो अलाउड हो गया, राउंड ट्रिपिंग हो गई। उसके नीचे के नीचे वाले ने लगाया तो अलाउड हो गई, 2 लेयर्स हो गई, उसके आगे अलाउड नहीं। अभी
री राउंड ट्रिपिंग सर, इसको कह सकते हैं री राउंड ट्रिपिंग।
हाँ हाँ, राउंड ट्रिपिंग। ये कह रहा है प्रोवाइडेड दैट सच रेस्ट्रिक्शंस शैल नॉट अप्लाई टू द फॉलोइंग लेयर्स ऑफ कंपनीज मेंशन्ड इन सब रूल 2। ये 2 लेयर्स वाली भी नहीं चलेगी, नहीं लगेगी अगर वो बैंकिंग है, नॉन बैंकिंग है, इंश्योरेंस है दिस। तो व्हाट यू आर ट्राइंग टू से, नो पर्सन रेजिडेंट इन इंडिया shall make financial commitment in a foreign entity that has invested or invests into India at the time of this, either directly or indirectly, resulting in a structure with more than 2 layers of subsidiaries. तो जहां पर 2 से ज्यादा सब्सिडीज लेयरिंग की बनती है तब आप राउंड ट्रिपिंग में इंडिया में इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं कर सकते। एग्रीड
जी।
requirement to be specified the mode of payment, deferred payment, reporting, realization, other reportment by a person shall be as per the regulations made in this behalf. तो रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया इसके लिए रेगुलेशंस बनाएगा, वो आपको गो थ्रू करनी है। अब ये 21 आ गया, ये अभी चलता रहेगा ना, बंद तो नहीं होगा ना ये अक्षत?
जैसे चलेगा सर अभी जी।
हाँ,
we have 5-7 minutes, 10 minutes more.
हाँ, तो पहले सर अभी ये 21 कवर कर लेते हैं ना, अभी एक चीज तो कवर हो जाए ना।
हाँ बिल्कुल, एब्सोल्युटली सर।
21 से पॉइंट इंपॉर्टेंट है जी।
हाँ, 21 ना सर क्या है, इंडिया के बाहर रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल्स ने ना अपने नाम से बहुत प्रॉपर्टियां खरीदी हुई हैं। तो जो प्रॉपर्टी उन्होंने बाहर खरीदी है, पहले भी वो अलाउड थी, अब भी अलाउड है, और एलआरएस के माध्यम से आप $250,000 में अभी भी खरीद सकते हैं। तो पहले वो उसके रूल्स रिजर्व बैंक के पास थे, अब सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास है, बट बाई एंड लार्ज कोई बहुत ज्यादा अंतर नहीं आया है। कुछ वेलकम मूव है, वो वेलकम मूव मैं बताऊंगा। सेव एज अदरवाइज प्रोवाइडेड इन द एक्ट और दिस रूल, नो पर्सन रेजिडेंट इन इंडिया शैल एक्वायर और ट्रांसफर एनिमल प्रॉपर्टी सिचुएटेड विदाउट द जनरल और स्पेशल परमिशन। अब ये जनरल है, हेल्ड बाय ए पर्सन रेजिडेंट इंडिया हु इज ए नेशनल ऑफ ए फॉरेन स्टेट। मान लीजिए अक्षित एक इटालियन सिटीजन है, इंडिया आ गया, तो भैया मेरी प्रॉपर्टी बाहर है, तुम्हें क्या लेना देना, एम आई राइट?
करेक्ट,
आपको एग्जम्प्ट कर दिया, चलो छोड़ो। फिर सेकंड वाला है जो लोग इंडिपेंडेंस से पहले के थे, पर यहाँ पे इंडिपेंडेंस डे नहीं है, 8 जुलाई 1947 है। ये मुझे पता नहीं ये क्यों है, लेकिन हो सकता है कि ये कोई फेमा का एक्ट रहा होगा उस जमाने का जिसकी डेट होगी ये, मैंने इस पर रिसर्च नहीं करी है। हो सकता है कोई ना कोई फेमा का एक्ट रहा होगा 8 जुलाई 1947 का, तो इसलिए उन्होंने कहा कि उससे पहले किसी ने बाहर खरीदी है और कंटिन्यूड विद द हेल्ड बाय सच पर्सन विद द परमिशन ऑफ रिजर्व बैंक। ठीक है, एक्वायर्ड बाय ए पर्सन रेजिडेंट इन इंडिया ऑन ए लीज नॉट एक्सीडिंग 5 years। इसका मतलब क्या अक्षत? क्योंकि कोई भी लीज पे हम प्रॉपर्टी लेते हैं लेस देन 5 years इन इंडिया और आउटसाइड इंडिया, उसे हम करंट अकाउंट ट्रांजेक्शन मानते हैं। यू अंडरस्टूड माय पॉइंट?
ठीक है।
अगर आप इंडिया के बाहर 4 साल 11 महीने का लीज एग्रीमेंट करोगे तो वो कैपिटल अकाउंट ट्रांजेक्शन नहीं होगी, वो करंट अकाउंट ट्रांजेक्शन।
राइट।
Not anything contained in this one. A person may acquire immovable property outside India by way of inheritance, वो तो पहले भी था। गिफ्ट और परचेज फ्रॉम अ पर्सन, ये नई चीज आई है कि आपने खरीदा और लोकल में गिफ्ट कर दिया। Who has acquired as per this? अब किसी, मान लीजिए किसी आदमी के पास एलआरएस की लिमिट नहीं है, उसकी एग्जॉस्ट हो गई, दूसरे की है, उसने खरीदा, उसको दे दिया। Am I right? A person resident in India may acquire immovable property outside India from person resident outside India by way of inheritance। ले सकते हो। आरएफसी, आपको आरएफसी मैंने ऊपर बताया था ना, तो आप तो वो ले सकते हो। आप एलआरएस के थ्रू ले सकते हो, 4 लोग मिलके ले सकते हो, रिलेटिव्स के साथ मिलके ले सकते हो, और आउट ऑफ द सेल प्रोसीड्स ऑफ द असेट्स अदर देन ओडीआई एक्वायर्ड ओवरसीज अंडर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ दिस एक्ट। तो ठीक है, एन इंडियन एंटिटी हैविंग एन ओवरसीज, अगर आपकी अक्षित प्राइवेट लिमिटेड इंडिया के बाहर कोई ब्रांच ऑफिस खोलती है तो वो भी ले सकती है, अलाउड है उसको। पर्सन हु हैज एक्वायर्ड एनी इमोबल प्रॉपर्टी इन अकॉर्डेंस विद द फॉरेन एक्सचेंज प्रोविजन ट्रांसफर से बाय वे ऑफ गिफ्ट, आप इंडिया में किसी को गिफ्ट भी कर सकते हो, उस पे चार्ज क्रिएट कर सकते हो।
राइट।
तो ये मैंने आपका कंप्लीट कर लिया सर,
जी सर।
विद ऑल एग्जांपल्स। यही अक्षित की इंस्ट्रक्शन थी भैया मुझे, मैंने इस इंस्ट्रक्शन को रिलीजियसली फॉलो करा।
थैंक यू
बस मैंने उसमें शेड्यूल 4 और 5 छोड़ दिया, विच इज मतलब बहुत रेयरली यूज होता है। मैंने 22 साल के अपने करियर में यूज नहीं करा उसको। उसका रीजन बता देता हूँ क्या है। जितनी भी इंडिया में ट्रस्ट और सोसाइटीज होते हैं सबके 12 और 80 जी होते हैं, राइट। उसमें लिखा है कि जो डोनेशन आपको मिलेगी उसको आपको इंडिया में ही यूज करना है। अगर आप उसे इंडिया के बाहर यूज करते हो तो वो एप्लीकेशन ऑफ फंड्स नहीं माना जाएगा। यू अंडरस्टूड? आप दोबारा पढ़ लेना एक्ट। इस वजह से जो ट्रस्ट और सोसाइटीज 12 और 80 जी लेती हैं वो उस पैसे को बाहर यूज नहीं करती, क्योंकि 12 और 80 जी के जाने का खतरा बन जाता है, क्योंकि वहां पे वर्ड है इन इंडिया। जब आप बाहर ओडीआई करोगे तो भैया पैसा तो वही है ना जो बाहर जाएगा।
राइट।
ये है क्लियर। अब क्या करना है सर बताओ, मेरे लिए क्या आदेश है?
सर आई थिंक
ये रूल्स कर लिए, अब रेगुलेशंस करने हैं, मैं रेगुलेशन कर लेता हूँ, और डायरेक्शंस करने हैं, डायरेक्शंस कर लेता हूँ।
दीपेंद्र जी इतना टाइम नहीं है, इट्स ऑलरेडी 6:05। मेरे ख्याल अक्षत हैज अ फ्यू क्वेश्चंस, सो लेट्स टेक द क्वेश्चंस। अक्षत आपके कुछ हैं?
सर उसमें 2-3 क्वेश्चंस में रिजॉल्व हो गए हैं।
ओके।
वन ऑफ द क्वेश्चन सर, कैन एन इंडियन एंटिटी गिव अ फाइनेंशियल गारंटी? वो भी हमारा उसके अंदर आ जाएगा, फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट में आ जाएगा ना। हाँ, फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट में। दैट हैज बीन रिजॉल्व्ड। And next question was, can Indian entity make commitments by means of other than equity capital contribution, sir? तो ये हमारे ODI के अंदर आ जाएगा।
उस कंपनी में 10% का स्टेक है,
10% तो लिस्टेड के केस में हो गया सर। जी
हाँ
जी।
अगर आपका है स्टेक उसके अंदर तो आप कर सकते हो।
सर नहीं समझा क्या?
अगर आपका 10% का स्टेक है तभी आप कोई लोन या कोई कमिटमेंट दे पाओगे ना।
अच्छा 10% का, हाँ वो रहेगा मिनिमम का। या फिर मेरे पास बोर्ड, अगर मैं डायरेक्टर्स को वो है 50% का वो है, तो आई कैन डू दैट वे ईदर ऑफ दैट।
Akshat, 10% का stake is minimum is required. In case you have that stake, then you can give a commitment.
अक्षत मैं T20 खेलता हूँ, केवल मुझे 4 मिनट दे दो। ये मैंने रेगुलेशंस खोल लिया तो बाकी क्वेश्चंस भी आंसर कर दूंगा बस जल्दी से, ज्यादा टाइम नहीं लूंगा, ठीक है? ये देखो
आप बताइए सर, आपका कितनी रहा सर आपका?
The right is with Dipender जी।
मैं only 4 minutes, I will finish it।
दीपेंद्र जी आपकी स्क्रीन में पुराना वाला वो रूल्स दिख रहे हैं, आपको रीशेयर करना
पुराना आ रहा है? अच्छा एक सेकंड रुको। एक सेकंड। अब देखो, अब आ रहा है?
ये सब दिख रहा है।
देखो सर, जो अक्षित आप बात कर रहे थे ना, ये रहा फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट बाय इंडियन एंटिटी। ये तो आपको समझ में आ गया फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट किसे कहते हैं, है ना? बाय एंटिटी बाय मोड्स अदर देन इक्विटी कैपिटल, ठीक है? इंडियन एंटिटी मे लैंड और इन्वेस्ट इन डेब्ट इंस्ट्रूमेंट इशूड बाय फॉरेन एंटिटी, लोन की भी बात हो रही है, और एक्सटेंड नॉन फंड बेस्ड कमिटमेंट टू और behalf of foreign entity including overseas step down subsidiaries of such Indian entity subject to following. The Indian entity is eligible to make, Indian entity has made ODI and Indian entity has acquired control. आपको ध्यान है कंट्रोल में मैंने 10% आपको पढ़ाया।
कंट्रोल के से दोनों आ गए ना, 10% एज वेल एज अगर मैं बोर्ड को वो कर पाऊंगा।
हाँ तो दोनों है, वो एक ही बात हो गई, ठीक है? चलो तो ये क्लियरिटी आ गई है ना। दूसरी जो नई चीज आई है वो ये आई है कि अगर आप लोन दोगे ना बाहर वाली को, तो आपको लोन एग्रीमेंट बनाना पड़ेगा, रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट देना पड़ेगा, और आर्म्स लेंथ का प्रिंसिपल यहाँ पर भी आ गया, पहले नहीं था।
सर सेफ हार्बर के से भी ले सकते हैं ना, सेफ
हाँ,
हार्बर?
वो आपकी चॉइस है, वो कुछ नहीं कह रहे।
ठीक
और
है।
फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट बाय गारंटी, गारंटी आप तो दे ही सकते हो, आपकी कोई ग्रुप कंपनी है ना, वो भी दे सकती है,
ठीक है।
आपकी सब्सिडरी भी दे सकती है, राइट। और अगर 4 लोग मिलके दे रहे हो तो 100% सबका गिना जाएगा। ये देखो, वेयर गारंटी हैज बीन एक्सटेंडेड बाय जॉइंटली एंड सेवरली टू मोर इंडियन सब्सिडी, 100% ऑफ द अमाउंट ऑफ सच गारंटी शैल बी रिकॉन्ड टुवर्ड्स द इंडिविजुअल लिमिट्स ऑफ ईच पर्सन।
राइट।
अगर जॉइंटली सेवरली में क्या होता है, मैं भी दूंगा तुम भी दे दो, तुम, तो वो सबका 100% सबका अलग अलग गिना जाएगा। आप ये क्लेम नहीं कर सकते भैया ये तो गारंटी तो 100 की है तो एक ही की गिन लो, ऐसा नहीं होगा।
ठीक है।
और नो गारंटी विल बी ओपन एंडेड।
हाँ सर, वो तो आगे नो गारंटी विल बी ओपन एंडेड, ये इंपॉर्टेंट चेंज है सर।
प्लेज ऑफ चार्ज पहले भी था, प्लेज ऑफ चार्ज आप क्रिएट कर सकते हो, ये अलाउड है, ठीक है। और डेफर्ड पेमेंट पे आप ले सकते हो, सब्जेक्ट टू उसके अंदर लिखा हुआ हो चीजों में। जैसे क्या होता है, आप कोई बाहर कंपनी बनाते हो तो शेयर तो उसी समय अलॉट हो जाते हैं, राइट, पेमेंट बाद में जाती है, तो उसका प्रोविजन या कोई बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन पास करना पड़ेगा कि हाँ भाई शेयर हो जाएंगे, लेकिन बाद में 30 दिन में 40 दिन में आप पैसे डाल देना।
ठीक है।
मोड ऑफ पेमेंट थ्रू रेमिटेंस, ऑब्लिगेशंस, आपको फॉर्म वॉर्म सारे यूआईएन भरने पड़ेंगे, ये मास्टर डायरेक्शन में मैंने बता दिया था। ये 10 आ गया, रिपोर्टिंग रिक्वायरमेंट्स आपको सारी करनी पड़ेगी,
सारे फॉर्म जो चेंज हुए ना सर।
हाँ, डिले इन रिपोर्टिंग के ऊपर अब एलएसएफ आ गई है, लेट सबमिशन फी आ गई है, वो आपको भरनी है बस।
पहले सर बस वो पेनल्टी लगती थी, पहले लेट सबमिशन फीस नहीं था।
हाँ, अब वो एलएसएफ आ गया है तो अब आप कर सकते हो, मैंने 4 मिनट में पूरा कर दिया।
क्या बात है, क्या बात है।
अब आपका रेगुलेशंस भी हो गए, रूल्स भी हो गए, और मैंने आपको सारे मेन पॉइंट कवर करा दिए जो आपकी प्रैक्टिस में यूज होंगे। बाकी आपको एक कॉन्फिडेंस आ जाएगा, आप दोबारा तिबारा, मुझे भी लगता है 5 बार और पढ़ूंगा मैं इसको, क्योंकि एवरी वर्ड हैज हिज ओन मीनिंग। ठीक है सर।
चलिए दीपेंद्र जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you, sir.
And believe me, the way you presented and extempore the presentation would not have also done the same thing.
नहीं।
हम आपको सुनने आते हैं, प्रेजेंटेशन को सुनने के आते हैं, तो मुझे पता है प्रेजेंटेशन होगी भी, आप रेफर कम करते हो, आप सिर्फ बोलते बताते ज्यादा हो। और आपकी ना टॉक की ये ब्यूटी है दैट यू जो आप लिंकिंग करते हो सेक्शंस की, विच इज वेरी गुड, और कॉमन मैन की भाषा में करते हो, जो कि जिसको फेमा नहीं भी आता है उसको भी थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ आना शुरू हो जाता है।
भाई इसमें अब ये बात समझ में आ गई कि पहले क्या होता था, 1% इक्विटी दो, लोन ले लो जितना मर्जी चाहिए। भैया अब ऐसा नहीं है, 10% इक्विटी होगी तो लोन जाएगा। पहले क्या था, 2 टायर से नीचे आप किसी को कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी देते थे तो आरबीआई अप्रूवल है, वो नहीं लगेगी। तो अक्षित, इसके अंदर काफी बेनिफिट्स आए हैं। मैंने अभी 2 चीजें कवर करी हैं, रूल्स और रेगुलेशन। अगर समय मिले तो डायरेक्शंस पढ़िए आरबीआई की। डायरेक्शंस ने कोई चीज नई नहीं निकाली है, जो ये 2 है वही है, बस उसको थोड़ा लिखा है तरीके से, लेकिन उसमें क्या है वो वही समझ पाएगा जिसने ये दोनों पढ़े हैं। ये आप ये मान लो आपने गीता पढ़ ली, अब इंटरप्रिटेशन के लिए आप जिस मर्जी ऑथर को रेफर कर लेना बस।
राइट, बेसिक से रूल्स इंपॉर्टेंट सबसे पहले, उसके बाद
रेगुलेशन। रूल्स सबसे बड़ी चीज थी जो आपने कवर करा है, शेड्यूल 1, शेड्यूल 2, शेड्यूल 3, और उनकी जो डेफिनेशंस में चेंजेस आए हैं। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है ओडीआई किसे कहते हैं, फाइनेंशियल कमिटमेंट किसे कहते हैं,
ओपीआई किसे कहते हैं,
पोर्टफोलियो इन्वेस्टमेंट किसे कहते हैं, ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है।
सर बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग था सेशन, आई रियली एंजॉयड, आई होप सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स को भी इवन दे गेन्ड अ लॉट ऑफ नॉलेज सर।
और वो सुनील जी को बिल कर देना जितने क्वेश्चन थे उनके, BVSS को डोनेशन दे देंगे।
चलिए सर, चलिए सर, दीपेंद्र जी, थैंक यू वेरी मच, एंड वी आर ऑनर्ड दैट जब हम आपको बुलाते हैं आप शॉर्ट नोटिस पे भी हमें टाइम देते हैं, सबसे बड़ी बात ये है। तो वी आर ऑनर्ड एंड वी आर थैंकफुल फॉर यू always, and thanks for the wonderful presentation. Nobody could have covered this subject better than you, और इतनी जल्दी। That's the beauty of this subject, and that's the beauty of you presenting the subject.
सर कई बार क्या होता है, गॉड बनाता है, तो मुझे लगता है राम बिलाई जोड़ी है फेमा और मैं is close to my heart।
चलिए सर, तभी सर फेमा के मैटर पे हम आपको तंग भी करते हैं और आपको हमेशा बुला भी लेते हैं इमीडिएटली जब भी नई चीज आती है सर।
वहां कोई चीज लिखी होती है ना, तो मुझे अचानक से अपने आप एहसास हो जाता है कि अच्छा इसका मीनिंग वहां पे ये रहा होगा, उसको इसलिए बनाया गया है, इसको इसलिए करा गया, तो वो एक एक्यूमेंट डेवलप हो जाता है करते करते ना।
ठीक बात है सर।
ठीक है सर।
सर सुशील कुमार गुप्ता जी का मैसेज आया है
हाँ
कि आपकी बिलिंग के लिए उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, so you
हाँ
can please go ahead and bill, है ना?
हाँ
With this, we thank you very much, and thanks Akshat for being a part of it and actively participating
Thank you, sir.
and wonderfully moderating the session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akshat.
Thank you,
So
sir.
nice of
Thank
you.
you.
so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye.
Thank you.